Today we're going to discuss antibiotic resistance. So I have discussed this topic in my various video lectures. So if you want to watch those videos, please do search for antimicrobial resistance. What do you mean by antimicrobial resistance? Is basically the antibiotics are becoming ineffective against the organisms. They are producing some sort of new features that are rendering basically those antibiotics ineffective. So in this particular video, we will try to understand how the antimicrobial resistance that works against the antibiotics and how bacteria they are evolving. So you can see in the illustration, I try to make some bacteria and try to show you what kind of mechanism is there. I have also tried to show you what is the basic function of the antibiotics and how antimicrobial resistance is basically trying to overtake that action. With that, I have also tried to uncover some of the important points regarding the antimicrobial resistance. And if you are aware of antimicrobial resistance, I'm sure this video is going to add up the knowledge, and you will be able to understand more on the antibiotic resistance. So with that note, let's start the video lecture. All right, I'll start the video by writing the topic, which is antibiotic resistance. It is also known as AMR. AMR means antimicrobial resistance. We need to understand what what is the meaning of antibiotic resistance and how bacteria develops it. Before that, let's write down the other name for antibiotic resistance, which is antimicrobial resistance. And what do we understand by antimicrobial resistance? Antimicrobial resistance is the resistance against the action of the antibiotics. So it is the resistance against the activity or the action of antimicrobial agents or the antibiotics. So I have already made one video on antibiotics, so please watch that video before watching this. You will be able to understand the action of antibiotics, and then you should be able to understand the antimicrobial resistance easily. So as you can see, I have drawn the illustration of few of the organisms, and suppose this is the bacteria, and now we are exposing the bacteria against the antibiotics. So what will happen? Many of the bacteria, they will die out, but some of the organisms, some of the cells in that population will survive because of their ability to develop resistance. So basically cells, they will evolve. And you can see I have written S means sensitive, means susceptible, they will be killed. R means the resistant strains, or the strains that are capable to survive in presence of antibiotics. And those strains or those cells, they will multiply, and that population will be antibiotic resistance. So that is why we also consider this process as evolutionary process, because cells, they are changing their phenotypes, genotypes maybe, depending upon how they are acquiring the resistance, right? So this is interesting process, and this process is going on in that bacterial population called biofilm. The process is continuous. We are eating antibiotics, and various organisms, they are also producing antibiotics. So antibiotic resistance is common in the nature. It is already going on. It's an evolutionary process, means cells are changing, and it's also a competitive process, means one organism is trying to kill the other because of the space availability, because of the nutrition, and so on. So it's already happening in the environment. Now, if the organism that is resistant against the antibiotic and also causes infection in humans, so what will happen in that case? It can cause serious life-threatening infections. So that can become a huge issue. That can become an issue and where treatment cost will be high, where hospital stay, they are going to be longer because of the resistant infection. Will be the cells will be hard to eradicate from the body. High mortality, high morbidity. So high mortality rates, high morbidity rates are going to be there because of these highly resistant antimicrobial strains. So these are some of the important issues. Now let's understand how antibiotic resistance that works. Suppose you have the bacterial cell, and then antibiotic is targeting the cell wall. Bacteria can change the cell wall, and now the antibiotic is not effective. Example is beta-lactam antibiotics. They are not effective because cells, they have changed their cell wall structure, or they have produced some enzymes that can degrade those antibiotics. So it is not effective. Bacteria is resistant. Next is some of the antibiotics, they target protein synthesis processes, like the translation, where protein synthesis is happening from mRNA. They can bind to these small molecules. Basically, these are the 16S subunit of the ribosomes, and aminoglycosides is the example for the protein synthesis inhibitors. And bacteria can also develop some sort of change or some kind of mechanism, like throwing out antibiotics from inside to outside. So this could be another mechanism to develop the resistance. There is a third mechanism, which is DNA replication inhibition. So antibiotics that are able to do that are called DNA inhibitors. They can target the DNA replication. Now they can target specific enzymes. In this case, I can say DNA gyrase enzyme. And if that enzyme is changing constantly, antibiotics will not be able to bind that particular enzyme, so it will be ineffective. So there are different strategies that microorganisms can develop, and these strategies, they are already known. I'm not giving you specific examples in this video because this will be out of scope of this video. I'll make the videos on specific antibiotics, and then we can discuss how resistance is coming up for that antibiotic, and what are the organisms and how they are developing the resistance against those antibiotics. That is highly interesting, because that process is continuous. The change in the receptor, the change in the antibiotic is there. But you see the problem, right? The problem is bacteria is developing resistance. On the other hand, we are trying to discover the antibiotics, and then we have a complicated process to discover antibiotic. But bacteria can develop the resistance very, very quickly. And now if we have resistant strains going around in our environment, what will happen? The infection will be dangerous. Infection will be resistant against the antibiotic. It will be virulent. It will be having high mortality rates. So it is important that we try to use the antibiotics with the awareness. We need to understand the activity of the antibiotic is precious. We don't want to lose the activity. We don't want to develop the strains that are resistant against the antibiotic. So these points are important, and we need to consider those points. Otherwise, it will be late for us to develop the antibiotics and then treat the infections. We'll have more dangerous organisms acquiring the infections, and then we will be without the antibiotics, and then the infections will be pretty dangerous and can take a lot of lives, and it could be another pandemic, who knows. So anyways, the idea of antibiotic resistance is itself is really dangerous. We need to understand that how we can contain this process, and a lot of research is already going on. A lot of scientists, they are working on developing new antimicrobial agents. A lot of scientists are working to understand the mechanism so that they can develop alternative therapies. But still, we are at the stage where we need to understand the importance of antibiotic resistance, and we need to work more in this area to find out more antibiotics. With that note, I'll just conclude the video, and I hope the video was helpful for you to understand the antibiotic resistance or antimicrobial resistance. I will bring more videos where we can discuss more on this topic, and I'll bring videos where I can discuss the specific mechanism of specific antibiotics. Till then, take care, and I'll see you in my next video.